North Dakota getting them early, right? One of the things that's North Dakota kind of, they have a great offensive unit, right? They're going to forecheck heavy. Sometimes with Brad Berry, again, coming the NCHC as much as I have, they'll use all five. Sometimes both defensemen will be essentially spotted just above the faceoff dots. Like they get really low in the zone just to try to hem you in. And so it's a learning opportunity, right? And you want these now versus in January, February, or March when you're trying to play your best hockey going into the NCAA tournament, right? So good things to come, right? But again, you want to be tested early. These are good, shall we say, getting your feet wet type games. And so that transitions to us who, we talked about defense, but now offensively, last week was all about, is it Himmy Snuggerud? Is it Jimmy Bakerud? I don't know. You guys tell me what the kids are saying. But Oliver Moore, he was the guy that impressed me this weekend. Do you guys feel the same? Has he arrived too? He looks comfortable at the D1 level.
Yeah, I think he looks really good. He looks really fast. He's making a lot of smart plays with the puck. I think he's got a lot of guys around him making smart plays, but he's seeing the ice really well, and kind of especially I think on Friday against North Dakota, he saw a lot of what he was able to kind of pinpoint what this really good team was going to do, and he was able to kind of get around it and make a bunch of moves. And I think, I don't know if I'm ready to say completely he's arrived, because we could have, obviously, just like the defense, I think they've been playing great overall, but they're going to have a few moments. I think Oliver Moore, even Saturday, he had a couple moments where it's like, all right, he's got a little bit of an undisciplined stick, a little too hard in on a trip. But that was a lot of guys for the Gophers on Saturday. But I think he's tracking on his way, just as everyone could have hoped. I think so far this year, making a big impact and looking like that first round pedigree talent, NHL type, almost NHL ready kind of guy.
Yeah, he's showing why he's a first round pick and why he is considered like the top offensive player in Minnesota coming in. I would kind of agree with you, Drew, that he's not. It's a work in progress. It's always a work in progress. I can't think of anyone who's come in right away, and even when they contribute, you're still like, there's room for them to grow and develop. But you see why Bob Moscow is excited about him. You see why he is playing with Snugger. He's playing with Brody Lamb, and just it makes sense. And I also kind of like that they put him away off the center and have him on the wing and switch that around as well. I thought that worked out pretty well this weekend too.
And, having that less defensive responsibility, again, frees you up in the offensive zone too on the wing versus at center. I think it's a good move, at least initially, right? But I think if you're the Gophers, I think ideally you want him at center at some point, just because, again, his hockey IQ was so high. I think he can make those responsible plays on both ends of the ice to kind of help you out through. But, guys, this brings us to our next question, right? We've talked about Snuggerud. We've talked about Oliver Moore. But beyond those two names, there hasn't been a lot of other names offensively that we have talked about. Now, granted, I can't say I've watched every Gopher game, and these two names take the headlines because of their natural skill. They're showing up on the score sheet. But is there an issue with depth scoring? And again, they lose 2-1 to North Dakota in night number 2. There were chances both ways. Nate, I'm going to actually throw this to you first. Does Minnesota have a depth problem, though, when it comes to offense, at least early on here in the season?
I don't know if I would say they have a depth problem on that end. The players are still there. The depth is still on that end. It's just they're getting the opportunities. You still want to see a little bit more. It's tough to say after just 2 full series, one being St. Thomas, one being on the road at North Dakota. Let's see a little bit more time, but at least they have the players. They should have the depth to go beyond a Snuggerud, Moore, or Lamb line. I know that you saw Rhett Pillick having chances, Jackson Nelson getting opportunities throughout the weekend, and so they have the opportunities. I don't know if it should be coming. I thought Aaron Hughlin, I was a little impressed with him during that St. Thomas series last weekend, where he popped up and I scored a goal that kind of reminded me a little bit of the one against UMass. So the players are there. The opportunities are still kind of seeing the work in progress. It's really tough to say after 2 weeks, though.
Drew, do you think, to Nate's point, is it a different conversation if we're not getting the chances, or are you like me, whereas, yeah, it's early, sure, and maybe they'll come because they're getting the opportunity. So is there concern still a little bit where maybe this stays stagnant, or are you on the side with Nate, whereas I'm not too worried? They're generating, they're just not finding the back of the net yet, but they will.
Yeah, I think I'd definitely go with the latter, just because I think over time the chances are going to happen, and there's going to be a spell where Jimmy probably doesn't get a couple goals in a weekend, or he doesn't look as on. And you know what? Maybe a guy like, I mean, we have yet to see Brodzinski, but I think he's looked really good in the work he's done in terms of like facilitating and being on the power play and setting things up. I think he's looked really good, but I just, based on the way some of these players have played in the past, I wouldn't be shocked to see a random weekend against Penn State and Connor Kurth has like 4 or 5 points. Like that's just something that I think it'll come in waves. And after 2 weeks, I think the big guns have just been the guys so far, and maybe they will continue to still be the guys, but I think eventually the other end of the spectrum guys will start contributing semi-significantly, and I think that's all they really need at that point, with behind some of the big guns up front, to have Kurth play a complementary role and to be like, all right, if Jimmy can get the goal to set them apart, you know what, let's get some of these guys who are still putting in the effort and getting the chances and getting those insurance type goals, and saying, all right, this goal started it, but a goal from this guy really elevated it to be a more secure victory or a more secure standing in whatever game they're playing in. So I think that they do have, based on what we saw last season from all the guys coming back, I do think that I don't think the depth is something to be questioned yet. I think if they struggle against some middling teams and some middling Big Ten teams, and they say, boy, we just can't get good shots or quality chances, then maybe it's time to start really having that conversation. But for now, I don't think it's anything really to be worried about.
So again, the Gophers split the weekend. So you mentioned conversations there for improvement, but I think overall Gophers fan base happy with the results of the weekend.